Hey booktube, so I'm filming this video not because I have the most beautiful bookshelves or that they're aesthetic or organized in a particularly good way, because none of that is true. I'm just filming this because I'm really curious about other people's reading habits. So what books do you buy? How do you justify buying X book versus Y book? How does that fit in with your library habit, if at all? What is accessibility like in your country? What is the availability of certain titles? What can't you find? What can you find? Yeah, what makes you pick up a book? So let's just go into it. I've got a lot more books besides this bookshelf. There's some things on our bedside table that we read to each other at night. There's some coloring books strewn about everywhere, but I think that's just the life of a reader. You know, your books are not always perfectly organized. So this is just this driving thing is just part of my fiance's gaming setup, so you can ignore that. These binders are also for my work related. I'm quite good with documentation and I just enjoy taking notes and professional development, I suppose. A lot of this is just notebooks, so spiral bound. Just like most other readers, I tend to be very into writing, journaling. I got my first journal when I was about 8 years old, so that's approximately 20 years of journaling, documenting my life, just things that interest me, commonplacing. I've tried various kinds of journaling, morning pages and all sorts of things. So anyway, that's what a lot of the spiral bound stuff is. This top book here by Kirby Rosanes is Dark Fairy Tales. So I'm very into coloring and I can do a separate coloring book collection thing, but it's just that it won't be very interesting because a lot of it is just Kirby Rosanes. I love his works and it's probably less than 20 books in total. And I've been coloring again since 2017, which is again almost 10 years, but I don't have a very big collection because I just believe in working through things systematically and rather finishing what I have than buying the next new shiny thing, and then I've got books that are uncolored completely. And the other thing is, art is just one of my hobbies. It's not the only one. So again, I try not to overconsume because I've just seen family members up close struggling with hoarding and I never want to just be that burdensome on my loved ones. So anyway, a lot of notebooks and things like that. And these were on sale, so you had to buy three anyway. There's whitewater safety and rescue and rock climbing. So my fiance does like mountain rescue. He's been into rock climbing for many years. He's done scouting as well. So I'm not particularly experienced in rock climbing. I'm open to trying more, but I'm not at a stage where I have fancy equipment or that I know much of the physics about belaying or anything like that. I do it to show him that I love him. I sleep in caves, I do all of those kinds of things. But yeah, not experienced just yet. A lot of this is also just music books. So the two of us love music and that's what we have. We have our instruments behind the bookshelf there. Yeah, there's the instruments. Anyway, so this drawing is me because I just love visual art. He's not so much into art. He can do technical drawing and technical embroidery and things like that, but he's not really into the pure aesthetic type of art, if you can put it that way. This is obviously a Renoir painting, but it's a jigsaw puzzle because he loves jigsaw puzzles. So this was one of his birthday presents. Then a lot of the salads we got from his mom. And then a lot of this is just vegan cookbooks because the two of us are vegan. And then the Bone Woman, this is something that I found at the SPCA. So, and then some more notebooks, some vegan cookbooks. So when I buy books, the first consideration is it available in local libraries? If yes, I'm not going to buy it. Otherwise, is it available in PDFs online or audiobooks online free? So that would be things like classics, for example. You can find those quite easily as PDFs. And then just to give you a bit of a disclosure, when I'm at work and I don't really have anything to do, I'll just open up a PDF of a book, and then it just looks like I'm so hard at work because I've got this wall of text on my computer, and then people just have no idea that I'm just sitting and reading because I have nothing to do. So because the thing is, like, you don't want to advertise, no, I'm not that busy, because then people get suspicious of you and then they want to give you the horrible work that nobody wants to do. So I'd kind of rather be busy on my PDFs. Anyway, but this I couldn't find at libraries. I couldn't really find online. And then Bill Bryson, African Diary. So this is My fiance's family loves Burr Bryson. I don't understand the hype. I've only read African Diary with him in the Drakensberg, and we were reading bits of it to each other, and I was just getting more and more angry. I was thinking, this is so shallow. I don't understand the appeal of Burr Bryson. The humor was not really landing for me, but again, that's the only one that I've read. And apparently, that's one of Burr Bryson's shit ones. So I'll just see. I'll just give it a chance. There's another Burr Bryson because, again, his family loves Burr Bryson. Some more vegan stuff. That painting, I just did this with a couple of friends. It's that silhouette of the swan. It's Odette from Swan Lake. So yeah, just not that serious. Don't judge me. I'm not that professional of a painter or anything. And then these are from a local shop called Typo. So this is well known in like the global south. So like, Australia is not really global south, but anyway, it's a stationery shop and they've got daily draw. So they give you drawing prompts. Our story is where you can work with like a friend or whatever it is, and together you talk about your likes and dislikes and just write. It gives you cute little prompts. Rise and Reflect is also something like that. So I just saw them in the shop and thought, oh, these are lovely. Let me just buy it. And obviously, when I get to it, I get to it. One of these books here at the bottom is my family history. So I come from indentured sugarcane laborers, and we were shipped to South Africa as part of British colonial rule. So a lot of us have just documented whatever we can about the family history because otherwise things just get lost. And it's nobody else's duty to document your family, If that's something you want to see, you kind of have to do it yourself, Yeah. Then moving on here, we've got Garlic and Sapphires and Tender at the Bone by Ruth Reichel. So I don't know, I've never heard of this person, but I, again, got these two from the SPCA. So it was like the memoir / autobiography section. I love that section for various reasons. Just people's subjective experiences, how they walk around the world. And I just like opening my eyes to, I like making myself uncomfortable on purpose, if I can put it that way. Like, I am not going to live in New York ever, probably, and see things from her perspective. So I seek out perspectives that are going to be different from my own. So she's a food critic, and Tender at the Bone, I believe it is, she puts on disguises because everybody knows that she is the food critic in New York, and so they sort of roll out the red carpet, but she doesn't want that. She just wants to be treated like a normal customer, and so therefore she puts on disguises so that nobody knows that she's a food critic. And she discovers that with the disguises, they sort of take on a personality of their own, and it just sounds like such a beautiful, fun premise. And just from opening the first few pages, she's got such a warm voice as a writer, and it really draws you in. So then I've got Ensema. Again, don't judge me, but I just taught myself French, and my colleague gifted me this, A Week in Winter. And I don't know that it really interests me that much, to be honest, but it was really kind of her to pass on a French book to me because the two of us are dueling at Duolingo and we're keeping each other accountable at French. I can get into that another time as to like why did I pick up French as a South African, but the short story is just that Southern and Northern Africa do tend to be quite cut off from each other, and I kind of wanted to bridge that divide, especially because there's a lot of xenophobia within South Africa and there's not an openness at all towards Pan-African perspectives. So I felt that by learning French, I would be open to a lot more Pan-African perspectives. I'm not really interested in European French perspectives, again, to be perfectly honest and just to be blunt. This, The Idiot, by Elif Batuman, is from one of the women's prizes. And Jennifer from Insert Literary Pun here, she described this and I just fell in love. So when I saw it at a local thrift shop, I thought, right, I have to buy it. This, I don't know what the hell this is. This is like some racing thing, the man in the white suit. So again, my fiancé and his brother, they love that kind of thing. This also so I have to put up with a lot of Top Gear and all that, which I really don't understand, and it's not my vibe. The one Top Gear episode that I really liked was it Botswana or was it Lesotho? I don't know. It was one of these countries, and I just loved it. It was so freaking funny. So I think Top Gear, if they tackle things that are of interest to me, sure. But if it's literally just cars, I'm like, I don't understand the appeal. But anyway, Joy Luck Club. I've obviously read this by Amy Tan, and I was obsessed. Intergenerational trauma and all of that, which I find, again, relatable is kind of a word that I hate, but I really found it relatable and really enjoyed her rendering of these family dynamics, this bittersweetness. And I think I completed Amy Tan's biography. I think she wrote a few autobiographies actually, but about her mother and struggles with mental illness and how that's as a result of these macroeconomic and huge political factors outside of your control. So you'll see nowadays you get South Asian people writing about, oh, ha ha ha, my South Asian parents, and when you can see the parents are very clearly suffering from mental illness, and some of it sure is genetic, but some of it is also because of these very large political things. So I just think that to boil it down to something purely interpersonal is to be reductive. So I really enjoyed Amy Tan's rendering where she was not reductive. She said, yes, there are these interpersonal struggles, but it comes from something a lot larger. And it was just so sad and so beautiful. The other author that it makes me think of is What My Bones Know by, I will get the author, I'll just think about it now. Yes, What My Bones Know by Stephanie Fu. So she is someone who struggled with complex PTSD, and she took it upon herself to add to the literature in a way that would not be quite as grim as what she had previously read. So she read The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. She read a lot of things about complex PTSD, but it was very grim. That, oh, sorry, you struggled from child abuse and you're just going to forever struggle and your nervous system is going to be dysregulated. Wow, wow, wow. So bad, too sad. And Stephanie Fu decided to write something a lot more uplifting. But she didn't hide from the struggles. She didn't gloss over anything. And I think, not that I want to compare Amy Tan and Stephanie Fu because it's not really a comparison, but I just think that they both have a lot of sensitivity in showing that the trauma is intergenerational. It's huge. It's much bigger than you or I, and it's much bigger than merely interpersonal. This hero, The Traveling Cat Chronicles. So, oh, shit. I was supposed to give this to my colleague and I forgot. But it's fine, I'll see her another time. She and I love cats. So this is the same one who likes the French and who gifted me the French book. She and I love cats. So she gifted me a book. Oh, I lost it and actually didn't return it. But it was about, I think it was called A Cat Named Bob. And it was about this homeless man and how essentially the cat chose him and saved his life. And not necessarily that he was on the edge of the cliff and, the cat pulled him off the edge of the cliff. It was not like that. It was saving his life, like giving him a slice of joy every day, giving him something to look forward to. And it's a really beautiful story. So yeah, I just saw this traveling cat thing and I thought, ooh, my colleague's gonna love this. And I just never, maybe, okay, I need to finish it first and then pass it on, obviously. Historic Maritime Maps, I just saw this somewhere and was so intrigued and I thought, ooh, and I just bought it and had a look through it. And I just think it's so fascinating, sailors where they didn't know anything. They just got on the ship and they thought, what if I reach the edge of the world and fall off the edge and where am I going? I just think it's such bravery to traverse into the unknown, to explore the unknown, to be curious about the world around you. It's just wonderful rather than close yourself off and say, oh, I know everything. And I think that's what catches us as readers, this curiosity, this openness to the world, which is something that I deeply, deeply admire. Okay, so ballet and modern dance. I have an interest in dance. I have done various dance styles like contemporary dance, which draws upon ballet. I've done ballet as a child and as an adult. I'm currently in a belly dance boot camp sort of class situation. I've done salsa as well. I wouldn't say that I'm particularly good at any of them. I'm a lot more accomplished at something like swimming because I've been doing that for a lot more years. But I really just enjoy looking at the craft, the art form, the deviations within the mythology. And, so ballet, obviously, there's different renderings and different retellings of similar stories. So Giselle, I think, is one of the sort of oldest ballets, is it? I don't know. I've probably gotten that completely wrong. But anyway, it's just that the stories and how they shift and how things like politics and Soviet occupation changes that. And yeah, like or again, all of those macroeconomic and political factors that influence art. Anyway, so Anamorphia, another Kirby Rosanes. I love my coloring books. This is like my Buddhist section, sort of, very loosely. The woman who raised the Buddha. So this is sort of Buddhism, and its tradition does focus very much on men, and it's not only men that contributed to the tradition. A lot of these, right? These are from, uh, yeah, it's very contentious. Let me just put it that way. So this Kadampa Meditation Center has been described as a cult, and there has been a very big rift with this teacher and the Dalai Lama. And this, by Reuters, by independent journalists, they found a link between this author, so his sort of cult, and the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. So again, I am not here nor there about that. I think there's a lot of institutional issues within this Kadampa Meditation Center for various reasons. It's something that I can go into a bit more depth in if you guys would like. And I've got some of the pujas there, which is just very interesting and very beautiful music. An author that I would recommend about this is Carol McQuire. So she talks about, I think she actually became ordained and she was within that system. And she talks about the overworking, the exploitation, and again, the like I had issues with the pedagogy. So I entered some of the classes for this thing, and I just found that the pedagogy was very rote learning based, and I'm not like that. I'm very critical, I'm very curious, and that was not looked upon very kindly. So Carol McQuire talks about various pedagogical issues like that, various translation issues, just from seeing it from within the inside. So again, I own these books, but I don't subscribe to everything that Geshe Kelsang Gyatso preaches, if I can put it that way. And I say it loosely, it's Buddhism, because there's some more. Okay, that's another Buddhist thing there, underneath universal compassion. And then I've got some more Buddhist flags. So I've got some of the Buddhist flags in my car. And then these are also just coloring books, so Mythomorphia and Mythic World by Kirby Rosanes. As I said, I really, really admire and enjoy his work. I have ordered Alien Worlds, and that's on its way from him. And then I've got some other authors that I like to support coloring book wise, so I can get to that shortly. Azadi by Arundhati Roy, quite enjoyed that one. Michel Foucault, Discipline and Punish, obviously, I don't know if that needs any explanation. Anatoly Rybakov, I just love Russian authors. Specifically, so I've read Tolstoy, I've read Anna Karenina, and I wasn't particularly impressed by that. I really enjoyed various Dostoevsky books. I've read so many, I've kind of lost count now. But then the other one, Mikhail Bulgakov, The Master and the Margarita, I started it and I don't know where, I think I lost the PDF that I was reading it on or whatever, because there was one with a lot of annotations and one without, and I was really enjoying the annotations. So yeah, I really enjoy a lot of Russian authors, and I just thought, and obviously I saw that at the SPCA, so I thought I must grab it. These are sort of various like military, South African military history books, which I quite enjoy. But as soon as I'm done, I'll pass them on to my brother-in-law because he also loves military history. And then Terry Pratchett, my fiance and brother-in-law love Terry Pratchett. Not that I don't like Terry Pratchett, I just never really got into it. I think our library didn't have a lot of his books when I was in high school, and that's when I did a lot of reading. And then in my early 20s, I was on BookTube, and I would read mostly South African literature, not so much things like Terry Pratchett. Mid 20s, it was mostly related to my profession, so I read a lot of law books, and so Terry Pratchett again was shoved to the wayside. And now that I'm in my late 20s, again, I'm just very deep into my profession. And so that's where my reading direction is at the moment, unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you want to look at it. Yeah, some more Russian authors over there. Anais Nin, Agent 407 by Olivia Forsyth. I loved this book. It was so fantastic. It's somewhat military history. It's basically someone who works as a spy for the apartheid government within South Africa. And she's just an ordinary lay person, and she gets pulled into this. And I just think it's so fascinating. It's so well written. Wild Swans, again, this intergenerational trauma, the the way that things can change within just 3 generations. So I haven't read this yet, but I bought it and I just thought, oh, I have to read it. This Charlie Boorman, I don't know why, and Kingsley Holgate, why, but this is like travel books from my fiance. And then there was something, oh, I bought this for him, The Lion Children, because it's kids in Namibia and like Botswana, and he always talks about doing the Okobanga Delta. And so he and I will definitely be traveling that side. The two of us are a little bit like, oh, sorry, I'm nearly tripping over things here. We're a little bit like heathens, you know. Travel wise, I don't know that I'm going to run to Paris or any of those places, but there's a lot of places in Africa that I would love to go to, and him too, you know. So that's that's sort of where our travel books will lean. Maybe the more, I wouldn't say uncharted territory, but just the less, because look, Africa has been explored for centuries. It's not uncharted. It's just that it's not as commercialized, if I can put it that way. You know, it's not, yeah. So, and then I'm just going to show you some of my other coloring books that are strewn about everywhere, and then that'll be the end to our bookshelf tour. Okay, so this is just some of my coloring pencils that I was gifted. Gardens Unfurled. So this one, it's like an accordion book. So the coloring book actually opens up and becomes an entire completed art piece once you open up everything. So as you can see, and my fiance just says he'd like to frame it once I'm done with everything. So it's beautiful. It's gardens from all over the world. You know, you've got the Morocco, you've got in France. Yeah, I'm obviously not quite done yet, so I don't even want to show you much of the pages because they're not exactly works of art just yet. But yeah, it's this beautiful coloring book. It was like 175 rand, or 145. So it's not very expensive. I can like convert that into dollars, but that's like 10 $10, I don't know, something like that. It's really not very expensive, and it's beautiful for what it is. And the paper is also very thick, so you can use markers, you can use pencil, you can use whatever. This is again very well known, the Mythographic series, Cosmic Spirit by Fabiana Atanasio. And when I explain this to people, I just say, you know what? With my coloring, I really enjoy these fantastical aspects because, you know, what color is a unicorn? You can make it whatever color you want, and you can be extremely creative with your color choices, which I really enjoy, you know. And I was coloring something, and my fiance says, "What you coloring the sky green, or you coloring the sky purple?" And I said, "Well, look now, everybody thinks no, the grass is green, the sky is blue, and there's this arrogance. And I think drawing and art requires somewhat of a suspension of ego because, you know, the sky is not always blue." I said, "Look up now, the sky is gray." Sometimes in the morning he would wake up and he would say, "Oh, I've never seen the sky this color before." And I said to him, "Do you not wake up early normally, or what is the problem?" And then the next day we wake up and the sky is exactly the same sort of bluish, grayish, just before the sun rises, you know. It just trains you to really look at things. And again, suspension of ego when you do art. So yeah, anyway, I've got a marker that's marking the page that I'm doing at the moment. This is Angel Number Coloring by Anjali Singh. So this one I don't know that I like as much because the paper is just not very, I don't know what the GSM is. I don't think it really tells you on here, the grams per square meter. But it's not very hardy. You know, things do bleed through. You can't really layer colors upon colors in the way that with a better quality book. So it's not really my favorite, but it does have very fantastical, very beautiful drawings and illustrations. So again, I don't know if it's me, but I just, the paper quality is not there for me, whereas it is on something like this. The markers, you can use them quite comfortably, and there's a backing to each page, so it's fine if the markers do bleed through. One of the newest Kirby Rosanes books, Dark Fairy Tales, you can't use markers as well because it would really bleed through. But you know what? That's just par for the course. You just try each book individually. You see where various mediums can work and where they can't work, and then you just do what you can. So I've had various art supplies for many, many years, and I just rather use what I have. I have seen a fair amount of overconsumption on things like TikTok, or what do they call it? Color Talk, I think. And I just believe in being quite mindful about consuming, because you lose the joy at the end of the day if you overconsume. Each purchase starts to, what do they call it? The psychologist, the hedonic treadmill. Yeah, you just start to enjoy things less, and the whole point of a hobby is to de-stress and not to overspend. But let's just cut this short now. You don't need to hear all of this. You just came here for a bookshelf tour. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your day.